Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I am Bishop Vanessa M. Brown. I'm your host and moderator for this evening. So delighted to have you here with us. Those of you that are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of the social media platforms where we can be found, we say good evening and welcome to you. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers, where we discuss things from a theological and justice-informed lens, whether it be authors, whether it be current events, political matters. We discuss it all with gender and sexuality. And we are so grateful to have you here in our listening audience tonight. I see that you all are sharing. So we want you to continue to share and let folks know that we're on. Speaking of current events, we know that a lot of political things are happening in the world right now. But we certainly want to encourage everyone. We want to pray for the people of North St. Louis, Missouri, people in Kentucky that suffered the tornadoes, and several people passed away because of them. And so I want to make sure that we acknowledge those people and that we certainly know that we are trusting in our God to see us through. I know people who have friends and family members who live in St. Louis, who live in North St. Louis, and the numbers are rising, and as it relates to the number of deaths from the tornadoes. And so we want to offer our prayers to family and friends and those who care and are concerned about what is happening. We want to continue to pray for our migrants. We want to continue to pray for those who are picked up by ICE. We want to pray for our sister, LaMonica McIver from Newark, New Jersey. She's a congresswoman who's a councilwoman in Newark who was arrested with the Mayor Ras Baraka. And Baraka was let go and went to court and everything was dismissed, but they decided to charge LaMonica. It is political. We know that it's one of the stunts that people do. And so we want to keep her in our prayers, whatever political action needs to be taken, boots on the ground. We want to make sure that we are a part of that, whatever we can do to pray for the community. We want to make sure that we are doing that. Again, I welcome you tonight to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I welcome you to share and let someone else know that we are on YouTube, that we are on Facebook, that we are on Instagram, and we are grateful for your presence. I'm going to find out where you are from. So make sure that you tell me where you are watching from. I want to make sure that I shout you out tonight. And so tonight we want to shout out Albert Reed from Colleen, Texas. Welcome. Chuck Hunt from Monroe, Louisiana. Welcome to you. Lavinia Bean from Cape May. Welcome to you. Glad that you are here. Wanda Fox from North Carolina. Welcome, Wanda. Reverend Tracy Ruffin. We want to welcome you. League City, Texas is in the house. Cheryl Robinson Moore is watching us on YouTube. Good evening from O'Fallon, Missouri. Welcome. MIT Maya Vasquez is watching us from Harlem, New York. And the Trans Liberation Project is also watching us. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Professor Natasha L. Robinson is watching us from Chicagoland. Good evening and welcome to you as well. Reverend Karen Coleman is here watching us from Boston, Massachusetts. Lay Pastor Ronnie Jordan is here watching us from Rancho Cucamonga, California, representing City of Refuge, United Church of Christ. Phyllis Rowan is watching us from Kansas City, Missouri. We say hello to you, Phyllis, watching us on YouTube. And we want you all to continue to share with folks. Let them know that we are on. We certainly have a wonderful guest on tonight here with us. We have Melinda Ludy. Melinda Ludy is here with us tonight from West Virginia. God bless you, Reverend Melinda Ludy. Billy Batson is watching us on YouTube from Orlando, Florida. And I'm just shouting out your names, telling folks where you're from. We're glad to have you here tonight. Darlene Connor is watching us tonight from Queens, New York. Queens in the house. Glad that you're here. Thank you for watching us tonight. I'm going to shout out some more folks. I'm calling in the folks. I'm sharing my own self. letting folks know that we are on, and we are grateful again for your presence. I know that as I continue to talk, more folks will show up to be a part of this conversation. It is a critical conversation. It is a crucial conversation. I wish that more people would be having these conversations, not because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but because it's time, because it is the real deal. Before we bring on our guests, we want to bring on, and I see you, Bishop Sonia Williams is here with us. Rim Atlanta is in the house. Thank you for being on tonight, Bishop Sonia. And I ask that you all, if you are leaders in churches, leaders of organizations, that you share this conversation. You want to be a part of this conversation. You want to hear what this great woman has to say about it. Davy Floyd, Rabbi, I see you, Reverend Davy Floyd. Thank you for being with us. Grateful for your presence, watching us on YouTube tonight. Let me bring on Bishop Flunder. Bishop Flunder is our presiding prelate of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. She's the senior pastor of City of Refuge United Church of Christ. Always glad to be here with you, Bishop Flunder. Welcome, welcome, welcome. She's got to get that camera adjusted. That's all right. That's all right.
Can you
Pastor
hear me?
Cynthia, I can hear you well, Bishop Linda. I can
All
hear
right.
you. We just can't see you.
I'm working on the see me part, but first of
Okay.
all, let me say hi to everybody. I am
Yes.
in a bit of precarious place, but I'm making it work because I definitely
Yes.
want to be with you today. So I'm working on the visual, but in the meantime, I'm so glad that we're having this guest and we're dealing with this issue. Amen. Especially in a time
Amen.
like this. Amen.
Yes.
I'm trying to get my visual. Keep going.
Thank,
Let me work on it.
thank, thank you. Pastor Siegfried Benton. Welcome. Temple Hills, Maryland is in the house. I see all of the people yet coming in. Reverend Tanya D. Jackson is on. Newark, Delaware is in the house. And so the states are representing. The states are representing tonight. I say good evening to everyone. And I want to just go on and bring our guest on. Y'all to make sure that we're sharing in the person of Dr. Monica A. Coleman. She is a professor of Africana Studies, John and Patricia Cochran Scholar for Inclusive Excellence. I just like that whole thing right there. Director of Graduate Studies of Africana Studies, University of Delaware. And she has written this wonderful book. And you know what? It's not a new book, but it's a book for such a time as this. It's called Bipolar Faith, A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. I'm going to say it again. Bipolar Faith, A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. And I want you to go get your friends, go get your mama and them, go get your grandmother, your aunties, your cousins. We see you, Bishop. Go get all your people. Go get all your people because they're going to want to be a part of this conversation on tonight. We welcome you, Dr. Monica Coleman. We say God bless you. And we are so glad that you are here with us tonight. Will you greet our virtual audience?
Ah, good evening if you're on the East Coast. Good afternoon if you're on the West Coast. So good to be here with you all, with the bishops, having this conversation.
We are
Excellent.
grateful for your presence. Grateful for you, Bishop Linda, for being here. And so let me start off by saying that Dr. Coleman has offered to give away a book. You know how that goes towards the end of the programming. We will do a free book giveaway. You must put in hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. But more than that, we want you to purchase the book. I think that every pastor, every leader of an organization, if you're leading people, it doesn't have to be Christian. You can be whatever faith. You need to talk about this book. You need to purchase this book. You need to have a group seminar, workshop, whatever it is in terms of it. And then you need to contact Dr. Monica Coleman to come lead it. Right? Because there's nothing like the author coming into your space to lead and talk about something that is imperative, that is touching our congregations, touching our synagogues, touching our mosque, everywhere, everywhere. And before I get going, Dr. Coleman, I want to shout out Reverend DJ from Nashville. Thank you for being on. Nashville, Tennessee is in the house. We're grateful. Dr. Coleman, do me a favor. Tell me the reason why you wrote this book.
I guess I wrote the book I wanted to read. I was having such a tough time, and I started reading memoirs because I wanted to hear from other people who had lived through what I was going through. And I couldn't find any. I couldn't find many by Black people. I couldn't find any about bipolar. And somehow all those people weren't religious. So I was like, how is that possible? But I also live in a religious bubble. So I wrote the book I wanted to read to hear about how we wrestle with faith and how it's very much shaped by our historical, cultural, racialized, gendered experiences. And in some ways, it's not, right? So I wanted to kind of wrestle with those things. Um, Kind of a spiritual biography as well as a memoir of madness and also a Black girl growing up story.
I love that because what I realize is that people don't want to talk about these things. They don't want to talk about Black women in depression. You know, the church has taught us over and over again, have faith in God. You know, this too will pass. You know, pray about it, fast about it. All of the different things that we hear coming across pulpits. I speak of Christianity, right? But I know that they're coming across mosque and synagogue. People are not able to reveal themselves and show themselves. I thought it was very important for Mental Health Awareness Month, but really, it should be really all the time. It shouldn't just be a designated month that we are talking about this kind of work and a Black woman's journey with depression. I cannot tell you how many Black women I know now, and I know it's Black men out there, but I cannot tell you how many Black women I know who battle, I'm going to use that word, depression. And so, can you tell me when you talk about still away to Jesus, God of grief? That's in your prologue. What were you talking about? Give us a little overview of that.
Well, if you notice, I used spirituals to kind of denote all the sections. And I love spirituals. They're, our music, right? The way there are psalms, there are psalter as African Americans. And they're also our way of describing collective pain. And so that was another reason I wanted to, kind of invoke different spirituals. In the beginning, I talk about how in my family, what we would now call depression or suicidality was described as dying of grief. And I thought you could just get so sad you would die. Kind of like the cartoon of the Grinch, right? When the heart gets smaller and smaller. That's what
Yes,
I thought
yes.
as a kid until my young adulthood. I learned the story where my grandmother would talk about her father as dying of grief was really a story about suicide. And I was like, wow, wait a minute. This is a whole different story than I thought it was. And I began to really think about, and I talk about this, especially in the first couple of chapters, as people who have been through war, poverty, sharecropping, enslavement, migration, which is really refugee from the South trying to stay alive. Um, of course, we're not okay. Right? Nobody would be okay. But I also came from people where nobody asked, "How are you feeling?" Because it didn't seem like there was room for that. It was like, do you have clothes that fit? Do you have enough food? Do you have consistent housing? That it didn't come from space to be like, so how's your mental health? How are you feeling now? That's not what my great grandparents or grandparents or even my parents really did. And that's not just a me story. I think that's a very American story. And so I wanted to talk about that.
I think you're right. It's not just a me story, it's a very American story. Bishop Flunda, I'm going to let you weigh in right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I'm finding my place around here. Okay, I think that the thing that comes up too most for me is that we blamed everything on the trick of the enemy. We said that basically it's the trick of the devil, it's the trick of the enemy, and if you'll just pray and fast and trust the Lord and go on a 40-day fast and get up at the morning at 6 and pray again at 12 and then pray again at 6 in the evening, that the thing that was destroying you emotionally could be brought under subjection. When in reality, we were holding on to intergenerational pain. And I remember, hymns and songs like Fix Me, Jesus. Oh, fix me. That one.
Mhm.
It suggests that something is broken. And we have many songs, broken songs, and songs about being broken, preaching about being broken.
Mhm.
That something is generationally wrong with us. And to be able to touch what brought us to that point is to be able to also create some way by which I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow. Remember that one? Lost in this wide world alone.
Yeah.
No hope. I have no hope for tomorrow. I am trying to make heaven my home. Everything became eschatological. We'll get it right when we can get it. We're going to suffer the whole time we're here, but we'll get it
Yes.
right when I see Jesus. Amen. Amen. I love the way that you are addressing this because I want to live while I live. I'll say it again. I want to live while I live.
Yes.
I am not owed that kind of sorrow. Have not done anything to suffer in that way. Neither did my ancestors, and neither do my children of the flesh and spirit. So thank you so much, Monica. And I'm still listening to you. I'm gonna put you on the thing here, Vanessa, Bishop Vanessa,
No
on the
problem.
mic thing. But
It's okay.
I wanted you to know how important this is to me, and this is to us. We have a despot in the White House who is trying to make us hate ourselves again and diminish ourselves and diminish each other by how brown you are, how gay you are, how black you are, where you live. We need to hear what it is that you're saying. God bless. I'm going to turn my mic.
She's right. We need to hear. We need to hear. It just came on me. I was thinking about what I usually have these book writers, these authors, these what I'm gonna do in advance. But I got stuck and I had to still myself. And then I was like, why don't you do something on health awareness since it's mental health awareness month? And you've not had Dr. Monica Coleman on. And this is the conversation that we
Mhm.
need to be having right now. People are crying out in their churches, in their mosques, in their synagogue. So, part one, will the circle be unbroken? I want you to move about that section as you will. You start with grandma. You talk about middle place. You talk about the mass. You talk about faith in God. I want you to move in that as you see fit.
I mean, I come from people of faith, right? I'm a faithful person. I think I said in there, going to church was like brushing my teeth. It was just hygiene. It wasn't something I thought about, do I want to do this or not? Not until I became much older and I decided yes, right? And so I also wanted to talk about, very much like you're saying, the ways in which faith sustains us, holds us up, makes us hold on so much longer than if we didn't have faith. But I'm also a fan of like keep it real faith, right? Of they that wait on the Lord shall, let's just say it sucks to wait. Nobody wants to wait. What happens while I'm waiting? Right. So I wanted to have a kind of, this is where I'm coming from. Right. And this is the kind of the foundation was where the circle be unbroken, with my family, my parents, right. My grandparents. So again, this is part that I think is my story, but it's the story of so many other people who are descendants of those who my grandmother was raised by a formerly enslaved African American. It feels like it's just two beats away, right? My grandmother's people are sharecroppers. My grandparents on my father's side had a third and sixth grade education, and they're all, in the North, DC, barely North, right? Trying to give their children a better life. And my parents trying to give me a better life, and all of them doing it with deep love and deep imperfection.
I like that. Deep love and deep imperfection. Because that's the thing. Like, I think that our parents, our grandparents, they gave us what they could,
Mhm.
right? They gave us my parents, my grandparents were sharecroppers as well, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't have that extensive education. My parents either. My mother graduated from high school, but she did not go to college. My father had a second grade education, but they gave us what they had. They did what they could do for us as children. My grandparents, I never was missing. I don't feel like I was missing anything, but there was some. It was always deep love, but
Mhm.
definitely deep imperfection. So thank you for naming that
Yeah.
and saying that. Um, every time I feel the spirit, first of all, I just have to say, I love the way you have
Mhm.
named each chapter, each part
Mhm.
with a song, um, because the songs mean something. The
Yeah.
songs take us someplace, right? So tell us about invisible, anointing, calling. And when you talk about invisible, somebody contacted me today and I asked them about how their child was doing. And they said that their child was in therapy. They were crying, they were upset, and they were looking for a word about how that child said she felt. And that child said she felt invisible.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there were a couple things. One is I felt like I always had to be happy, right? Like nobody wanted my sadness, that people wouldn't like me if they knew how sad I was inside, right? Like it was a secret. And of course, it wasn't after a while, but I felt like it was for a long time. So that was part of it. And then, I felt a calling as kind of the spiritual autobiography part, right? And I didn't grow up seeing women clergy, so it took me a minute. Yeah, I didn't grow up seeing young people clergy. Now, of course, when you're like 12, like 19 is kind of the peak of life, and 30 is old. But I didn't see young adults as clergy until I went to college. And so I very much believe God put me in a situation where I could see what was possible and say yes. And so I did. A little bit of running as it happens. I was like, yeah, I see you, I hear you, thank you, no, no, thank you. And that didn't last too long. And then I was like, okay, what do we do now? So then we go to divinity school and learn some more, right? I had questions, right? I'm the kind of kid who always had questions, who always questioned authority, not in a bad way, but just like, well, how do you know? And I want to know how you know. And maybe I agree with you, maybe I don't, right? That's what I learned, to be a critical thinker in school. But then people didn't want me to be a critical thinker with my faith. And I was like, well, it doesn't work like that, right? If I'm a critical thinker in one arena, I'm going to be in every arena. Again, which wasn't critical, but I had questions. And so I wanted to go learn more. And of course, in that process, you learn more about yourself as well as about your faith, as well as about the history, right, of religion. And I guess that's kind of where I came from there, right?
Thank you for that. Bishop Flunder?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, this thing is working out pretty good. And back in the back of our event space. Yeah, this is all right. This is the question that I have
Hmm.
that sort of is married to what it is that you just shared with us, Dr. Monk. I wonder, and I wonder this often, why is it that we put this off, this business of healthy self love? Why do we put this off as though it suggests that we are selfish? Does that make sense?
As
That
if,
when you start,
uh,
like when you are talking about finding a way
mhm,
for yourself
mhm,
to thrive
yeah,
in and among the people that taught you, that the people that taught you see that as you being selfish.
yeah. Well, I think women are socialized to be self sacrificing. number one.
Yes.
And so when you
Let's
buck
talk about
against
them.
when you buck against that, they say selfish as compared to healthy balance of self-love. I think there's more of that
Yeah.
now than there was. This is 90s that I'm writing about, right? Than
Yes.
there was in the early 90s. I had really great, really amazing teachers and mentors. And like everyone else, you think that there's a certain path to take. And so if someone deviates from that path, people don't always know what to do with that. I
Yes.
believe everyone has a calling, right? I like many others in a denomination that doesn't really know what to do if you're not called to pastor. And I learned early on I was not called to pastor. It doesn't mean I wasn't called to preach or to be have other kinds of ministries inside of church, outside of church. But no one really knew what to do with that at the time. I think they still there's some people get it, but a lot of people still don't. I think that ordination is one path. It's not by any means the only way of responding to one's calling. I had this really amazing kind of, I guess, experience of anointing. I did not grow up Pentecostal, so it felt pretty amazing to me. And, mystical and very united with God. And sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's not. And I don't think that makes it any more or less holy, right? Or any more or less connected with God. And that I could still feel this strong calling from God, this strong relationship with God, and still live with depression. Like they're not mutually exclusive. Because so many times it's like, well, you experienced this because you didn't pray right, you didn't have enough faith, you didn't fast right, you didn't. You're like, there's no 5 steps or the 3 steps or 2 steps to be great. Like it's not like that. But so often we're taught that, or we hear messages about that, and that's not helpful. That's not helpful. And so I wanted to begin to say that.
Bishop, you're muted.
I know I'm going to run out of a situation because I'm hiding in the back of a restaurant. But it there is one thing that I want to say before they throw me out, okay? And that is that these new air fryers.
Love my air
Everybody
fryer.
know about that. Do, do you know what I mean when I say air
Oh yeah, I
fryers?
got an air fryer. Hmm.
Okay, new way to cook food,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Which I think is lovely. It's wonderful. It works quickly. How am I doing?
Yes.
It's useful, but it's not the same as what my grandmother used to do.
It's not the same as your
And when
grandmother.
I say that, the reason I'm saying that is because there are some things that we do need to hold on to because those things are the things that anchor us, like having a prayer life, like having the ability to forgive, like having a religion or a religious understanding that brings people who could possibly feel that they're not worthy, not a part of what it is that we do. And I am concerned as we do expand and grow theologically that we are clear about what we should hold on to and what we should jettison. I say that not because I'm hating air fryers. Y'all don't, please don't misunderstand me. Mother Shirley got one now. So I just need to tell you, she got one. And I thank the Lord for air fryers. I want to say I thank the Lord. But it's just not the same. It's kind of like a popcorn in the microwave. How different it was when my grandfather shook it up in a metal skillet and handed it to us. It took a long time too to get it right because it was different then than it is now. I would love for us to pay attention to the things we need to keep that have been an incredible blessing to us, and we not lose those things. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I think that's part of why I reach to spirituals. Um, my friends will laugh and say I'm real old school in my worship, even if I'm new school in my theology, right? I love because that's what my faith sounds like to me, what it feels like, and it takes me to the best parts of my grandparents and what grounded them. And I think it can be challenging to know, and it's going to be like trial and error. Like, what do I hold on to? What do I let go of? To know that our faith changes as we change, but also not, as they say, throughout the baby with the bathwater. Like, what are the best of the past that we can hold on to, and what is the best the future that we can move into?
That was good.
You said it. That's it.
Hmm. That was
And just
good.
to put my theologian hat on, the fancy word for that is postmodern theological, right? How do we
Yes.
hold on to the best of the pre-modern world
Don't
and move
don't tell
into
Yes.
your don't tell your grandmother that.
the best of?
Exactly.
It was
I
beautiful.
love that.
Thank you.
And Bishop Sonia said, right, Bishop, we be out here microwaving pot roast. You still need a slow cooker for that. Yes,
I,
Phyllis Rowan, we acknowledge your comment too. Phyllis says, exactly, I was miserable and suffering emotionally and did all of the things the church said were the remedy, but they weren't working. I assumed that something was wrong with me. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And so many do. We are listening to Reverend Dr. Monica A. Coleman. She has a book called Bipolar Faith, A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. And so we encourage you to make sure you put hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers so that because we're going to do a book giveaway. And then in your section, in your comment section, you should see where you can purchase the book. And this is a gift. This is a gift that you want to give yourself. And it's certainly a gift that you want to give to someone else. Dr. Coleman, so you your narrative challenges traditional theological understandings of suffering, of divine presence, particularly within the context of mental illness. I would like for you to say more about that because I think that people need to hear it.
Yes, the idea that suffering is redemptive. No, suffering just sucks. It's terrible. It's horrible. No one wants to suffer.
Say
The
that
fact
again. Say the first
suffering,
parts.
the idea that suffering is redemptive is wholly unhelpful, right?
And
I
no, the other
believe
one is that suffering
suffering
sucks.
sucks. Suffering sucks. Nobody wants to
thank
suffer.
you.
Nobody enjoys it. There's nothing great about it. We probably all will at some point, but there's no reason to valorize it. It's terrible to be in a suffering place. And I think it's important to just say that, like, suffering sucks, period, full stop. No but, even though, and. Right? There are individuals who are able to transform their experiences of suffering into something beautiful, something helpful, something that helps them and those around them. And there are many people for whom suffering makes them weaker and emptier selves of who they were before. And the difference between those people is not faith. It has much more to do with the kind of medical and human and financial resources you have to get help.
Oh God, that is so good to hear. I think about it, about Jesus on the cross. But when he made it clear, get me down from this. If there's any way you can get me down from this, I would sure God appreciate that.
Right.
I would just really have you, and if he had a point where it was just too much, we also have to know that we can have a point where it's just too much. And we need to make sure that we free ourselves and that we let the people who think that we somehow or other were destined for that, let them know we're just not having it anymore. I believe that that's true. We don't talk much about him saying, I don't want to do this. But he did say it. I don't want, if I'm to believe the text, I don't want to do this. This is a mess. This is horrible.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And there is no salvific value in suffering just because it's suffering. I'm so glad you said that.
Correct.
I'm so glad you said that.
Thank you for that. I'm going to take a question from an audience member. Reverend Dr. Dinah Chapman is on, and she poses a very good question. She says, how can we address stop spiritualizing depression and bipolar when people think they can just pray or shout their way out of it?
Well, this is where the medical model is helpful to remember it's a medical condition. No one thinks you can shout your way out of diabetes or high blood pressure. Very, very few people do. They're like, pray and take your medicine, right? Pray and go to the doctor. It's the same. These are our bodies, our brains, our minds. It's all together. It's not something you've dreamt up, right? And so that's one good way. It's like, hey, when we're praying for people who are sick in the hospital, we can pray for people who are living with mental health challenges. With the same idea that I'm going to go visit you in the hospital. I'm going to make sure you have doctors and health insurance for all of these kinds of conditions. And that's what hopefully we can do as informed people of faith who can gather together our resources, maybe be stronger, right, together than we are individually.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Reverend Dinah, and thank you, Dr. Monica Coleman, for giving us an answer. We go into part 3. You say wade in the water, which is what I just watched the dance, not no, Alvin Ailey dances, and they did their whole thing on wade in the water.
Beautiful.
And it was incredible, like it always is. You have different things within the body of this wade in the water chapter. You talk about when I die. You talk about the dance, the Dinah Project, silence, good day, bad day, looking for hope, day by day, and rape. I want you to say more about this particular section and whatever it is that you want to speak about.
Well, I named it Wade in the Water because God's going to trouble the waters, right? Here we go. We're wading into the deep parts. When I originally wrote the book, I did not think there would be as much in this section. But books also sometimes write themselves. And in this season, this was where I learned how to live through hard things. And so that's how it ended up being this long. I'm a survivor of sexual violence, right? As are, minimal 1 in 4 women, right? 1 in 6 men. And it was the traumatic experience that really, I wouldn't say shattered my faith, but rocked my faith. It made me have to really, really look at what I believed and say, is this working for me? Because I had this idea, as many people do, well, if God could part the Red Sea to prevent this from happening or that from happening, why didn't God stop this from happening to me? And I didn't have a good answer. So I was like, I'm not really feeling you, God. We're done right now. But the problem was I didn't have a plan B. So here I was in seminary on somebody's ministerial staff. And so I had to just keep on, going while I figured it out, while I tried to figure it out. And was able to get really good resources and help through Rape Crisis Center and begin to put a lot of my emotional life back together. But there was no one to teach me how to pray again. No one to teach me, what do you do when the faith you have fails you? What I learned is that I ended up being in a faith community that knew how to hold me until I found my way back. And I think that's the ideal, right? Is that your faith is going to fail you, and that's okay. It's just if you can get around people who are okay with that, who know that, and hold you until you and God are good again, right? And that's where I did end up being. And so I talk about how one heals from deep trauma. And I said, good day, bad day. Initially, the bad days outnumber the good days. And then slowly, you have a couple good days. And then slowly and slowly, there are more good days. And then you can count the bad days instead of counting the good days. And it took time. And I had a lot of good community at the time. I also had some challenges. I also lost some relationships and had some challenges in my family relationships at the time. And I came to think of my experience as a part of me having died and a part of me resurrecting. And when I began to do that, it really helped me to say, okay, I'm a minister. I know what to do when people die, right? We have funerals, we mourn them, we celebrate who they were, and we think what happens next. And so when I began to treat myself that way, as if, okay, I'm not the person I used to be. I'm never going to be her again. But hey, this is who I am now. And I'm walking forward. I'm figuring it out. And that was really helpful for me. And in the dance, I talk about when I couldn't find the words, I danced, right? When I couldn't pray, when the things that I was taught to say weren't meaningful to me, I found God again through dancing, as so many of us do, right? We understand embodied worship. Um, and we get there however we get there, and that was a way I got there. And I wasn't a little kid ballerina, right? I was not a little kid in dance class. I was just a kid, a young person, went to the club, shook my booty. So it wasn't like I had some big dance experience,
Yes.
but I found West African dance, and that connected me to God, to my body, to my ancestors, to my community again.
And
Thank you.
can I
Go ahead, Bishop.
ask
Go.
one more thing
Yes,
while I'm out on the
please.
street
Yep.
now?
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
warming, so I'm running away from the
Yes.
guard. So, but don't you can't. Okay, this is an I statement from me. I glory in my infirmity, not because something is wrong with me, but because my infirmity is what enabled me to care about other people. I don't think that I would have been able to really empathize the needs of other people if it had not been what I've been through, especially when God turns my mourning into dancing, to your point. And I've learned to, and not, I don't seek it. I think that struggle is a part of life. Birth is a struggle. It's a mess. I'm a birth mother, and it's the biggest mess in the world. And I've said it before that you can cuss all you want to in the birth room because it's just a mess. I just want to say that. But it brought new life. New life was born out of that struggle. That's why I think I'm able. I don't want to have trouble, but I understand the prophet when the prophet said, "I glory at this time in my life in my struggles," because I could never have empathized with people who have struggled like I have struggled, and sometimes even more than I have struggled. I need to be able to not just feel sorry for them, but to get in the fire. It's like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and the angel. I'm giving you this little preaching father, Bishop Vanessa.
Right.
Brad, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego standing on what they believe to be their truth in the telling of that particular story were being put to death. And then a dance partner joined them. And when the dance partner came, it took the fire out of the flames. There's something incredible about the kind of work that you do, Dr. Monica, because you have been able to take your struggle and turn it into something that will help people dance who could not dance. They could not, but they hear your story and it enables them to find their dance. And that's just something about that blesses me when I see it happen. It's all over your face, it's glowing on you. And you took it and turned it into become a practitioner, not only to bless you, hallelujah, she says, hallelujah, but to bless those who touch you and are touched by you. Keep doing it. The fiery furnace can't do a thing to us if we can dance in the fire. Thank you so very, very much. So very much. I'm going to have to holler at you, Bishop Vanessa. I'm being put out by people.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank
I'm
you,
hiding up in the
Bishop.
back of it. I'm at a event for my sister-in-law, and so
Mhm.
I'm being talked about. But I had to get on here today.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you,
I
Bishop.
just
Yes.
had to do it, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to apologize right now. But praise Jesus, Hallelujah! I
Thank
love you
you.
both.
Thank
Take
you.
good care.
Okay, we love you too.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Dr. Monica, I just want to say thank you for your transparency. Thank you for being real. Can I just say it like that? Thank you for being real and authentic. It is what people need to hear. It is what we need to hear. It's what I need to hear. It's what so many people that I know that are listening need to hear in a practical way. It's not heavy theology. It's not heady. It is just, this is what the real deal is.
Yeah.
This is where it is. People are going through, right? Yes,
Right.
Dr. Jamie Edie is on. People are going through it.
Yeah.
People are really going through and not knowing how to deal with it. And the church is still yet trying to find the tools and the skill set to deal with it, right? I want to deal with this question. Uh, Bishop Sonia asks, she says, Apostle Paul said, I reckon that the suffering of this present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed. Does all suffering end in glory?
No. In fact, I would probably say most suffering does not. Like I said, suffering sucks. And again, some people are able to transform their experiences of suffering into something creative, and many people are not. Or you're able to do it for yourself, but you're not called to do it for others, and that's fine. There are plenty of horrible experiences that you wouldn't want to go through, you wouldn't want to wish on your loved ones or even your enemies that you've experienced. There are plenty of things you can be an ally for without having experienced, right? I've never had war on my land in my lifetime, but I can be an ally to people around the world who have, right? To my friends who are refugees from those places. That's as an example, right? So I don't think I need to go through all these horrible things to care, and to make something good of it, or to be a part of transforming the world so it is better and kinder to others around us. In a case of depression, some of it, like I said, it's no one would be okay if they went through some of the current or historical experiences of our people. Some of it is a chemical imbalance, and those are not unrelated either, right? Sometimes it's a certain situation, and sometimes there's no reason at all. And it sucks. All of it sucks. And to have something that feels like it lives within you, that fights against you, it's the worst thing for me. It's right. And it's not like it's gone away for me. It's not like you wave a wand and I'm good, right? There are ways in which it takes a bevy of resources, right? Community, friends, family, faith community, therapeutic resources, diet, health, exercise, whatever it is, right? For you or generally to be well, to be okay. And again, the ability to get between getting from a hard place to a better place is not about the amount of faith you have. It's it's
I
not.
like that. I love it. Listen, you are listening to Dr. Monica Coleman. I love this book. See it? Yes, here. And I think you should get it. A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. The foreword was by Dr. Tamar Bryant, whom we've had also on the show as well. And
Longtime
I
friend.
encourage, yes, I encourage you all to, this is a time to do it. Some of is what of what's happening in the world. People are really on edge. They are talking about not giving people their medication,
I know.
right? They're talking about holding back medication that people need for a chemical imbalance and for other things, right? Um, Go
Can we
ahead.
talk
Say,
about
I know.
medication for a minute?
Yes,
It
please.
took me a long time to get with medication, and I'm not saying that's
Yes.
everyone's journey.
Yeah,
I am not the most compliant person in the world, no matter what kind of medication it is. That's just not my
I
strength.
hear you. Sure.
Um, and I had this friend, and I write about this in Bipolar Faith, who said, why would you not trust that somebody's calling is to be in the pharmacy, right? And that their calling is to make something to help you, right? You trust that the chair is going to hold you up. Why? You need to have faith in
Yes.
this too. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like that God is in the medicine too. If God is
That's
really
right.
in everything, which I deeply believe, right? If God is really in everything and everyone, then God is in the medicine too. And that really helps me to take that first step and to work with psychotropic medication as and when I needed to.
I think that's so important. Thank you for lifting that up. I know so many people who, even in my own family, who just refuse
Mhm.
to take the medication. They battle with it no matter what we say. They say they don't
Mhm.
need it, but really they do, right?
Mhm.
And I know how complicated it can be, not
Mhm.
just for that individual, but for the
Mhm.
people that love them too,
Yeah.
right? Um,
And this is not an exact science, man. It's the brain. The brain is
no, that's
complicated.
it. That's right. Yep, yep.
Black bodies are complicated. They don't run trials
Yes.
on our bodies, right? So
No,
it's complicated, right? But
it's
again,
complicated.
I'd like to think that if I'm God's called professor, somebody is God's called chemist, right?
Come on.
And I know people who see this as their calling, and
Yes.
they bring all of their faith to these
Yeah.
endeavors too.
Yes. Christopher D. Barnes said, suffering for me simply happens, and it's the sufferer's right to determine what it will mean for their journey, even if it will mean nothing at all. Thank you for that, Christopher. And E. Marcus Harper Short said, it helped me, I believe, it helped me to get past the abuse I experienced from those within my faith community once I came to understand that a strong and full faith spiritual community even includes non-religious based practitioners, health and medical experts, etc. Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
for
I
that.
would call my
Yeah.
chiropractor like a miracle worker, right? I go in there in knots and come out like, "Ooh, how'd you do that?" Right? So,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. And I want to just end with the last chapter. I want to encourage you all to get the book, purchase the book, give it as a gift. It's something that you want to discuss in your faith community. I want you to do that. I want people to know, and I don't care how old the book is, I want people to know
Mhm.
about this book. I think that it is important. I think that it's important that we have these conversations now. Now is the time. I know there are churches that are doing work, but I know it could be more churches. It could be more mosques. It could be more synagogues. There are more, licensed clinical social workers, more therapists. It could be more social workers, MSWs, LCSWs, everybody. It could be more, right? If we start looking at this as if, like you said, if you have to take medicine for diabetes, if you have to, you know what I mean, all the things that you have to do for high blood pressure, you have to treat it the same way you treat your body. You treat your mind, your mental health, the exact same way. It is not different.
Yeah.
It is not different. This last chapter, Dr. Monica, part 4, no more auction block. No more auction block. I hope you put the hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers in. No more auction block. Life of the Mind, Razor, Diagnoses, Revelations, Wilderness, Faded and Free. Please talk to us.
For me, so many ways it's a freedom story, and this is not the only story of your life. It's not the only story of my life. That this is one of my stories. It's part of
Yes.
all the other parts of who I am. And when you're in it, it feels like it's the only thing. Like this is
Yeah.
all there is to
Yeah.
you, to life, to what's happening. But it's not, right? That you and I use the no more auction block because I felt enslaved to
Mm.
depression. Like it
Yeah.
was like it owned me. Like it was always going to be here. Like it was just this hard thing. Even though I'm still going through life, going to school,
Yeah.
having a career, I'm doing the things, but inside it felt like this was the biggest thing.
Yes.
And it's not. Right? I guess that's the freedom story. It's not.
Yeah. It's not.
That it doesn't have to own you, right? That there is so much more to who we are as a
How were
whole.
you able to get there though? How were you able to get there? Because I mean, I know that it was a journey. I know it was a process,
Yeah.
but like what made you get to that point where you say, you know what? This is not my whole life. Like I got 1,000 other things to do. I got a kid, I got this, I have all these different things, right? I have a family, I teach,
Mhm.
I am
Mhm.
whatever all the things that you are immersed in.
Yeah.
What made you say that this is not going to be the whole of me?
I can't say it was a certain thing or a certain moment. I think I kept looking for other stories. I kept looking for other folk who had gotten to the other side, right, of whatever this was. And that gave me a bit of hope. And then I guess it's sneaky. You just keep living life. You just keep doing your best, keep putting one foot in front of another. And then I was like, check it out. Right. And I didn't want it. Right. Even though I felt like I was enslaved to depression, I didn't want to be. Right. I didn't want this to be my whole story. So some of that I think is time, it's community, it's um your heart's desire, right? There are times I still get really frustrated. I'm like, I'm mad about this. I'm like, I want to feel better. I want, and I that does not go away. Of course, that's not every day, but there are times I'm still mad about it. Like, everyone doesn't have to experience this. Why do I have to? Why do I have to do the five things to be okay? And everyone else does the one thing to be okay. Now, of course, everyone probably has to do five things, and I just think they have to do one and I have to do five, right?
Exactly.
That could just
Exactly.
be how I see it.
Right.
But I get frustrated. I want it to be easier. Yeah, I want it to be easier. So that's still there, right? But I know it's not the only thing. And sometimes, and to me, that's in some ways how I define forgiveness is right when you're able to see past one thing and see yourself, others, someone who hurt you, right, as more than just this one thing.
More than just this one thing. That's so much wisdom in that, so much compassion in it, so much grace in what you're offering right now. Thank you so much for it. I um I want you to give us a final statement. Now, I have encouraged you all that are listening to purchase the book. I have encouraged you all to enter into this hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. I know that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. But honestly, this is something that we need to be talking about all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, we know the joy of the Lord is our strength, but sometimes we just don't feel it. Yes, we know for the spirit of heaviness, put on the garment of praise, but sometimes we just don't feel it. And I think
Mhm.
it's important for us to hear this tonight, to hear with our inner ear, to hear with our heart, to hear with our mind, to hear with our spirit, because the spirit is speaking tonight. The Spirit is speaking tonight to all of us that are listening. I hope that you share this conversation with someone because they need to hear what Dr. Coleman has to offer. They need to hear about bipolar. As soon as you talk about, you say bipolar faith, but as soon as you mention that word, people get skeevy.
They do.
As soon as you start talking about these things that people don't want to talk about,
Yeah.
people start getting skeevy. It's time that we have conversations in the light, that we don't vilify people, that, it's time for the church to do its part, the mosque, the synagogue, whatever your faith community is. It's time for us to really start doing this part when it comes to this conversation. And if you could leave a final thought with the people as it relates to your book, anything that you want to say about bipolar faith, anything that you want to say about depression and faith, I want us to be here. There are a lot of people on now that are listening that are therapists and licensed clinicians and grief doulas and death doulas and everything. They're all here. Birth doulas. Everybody is listening. I'm looking at the variety of people that are on, and anything that you want to say to the people. And then there are folks who will watch this after. What is it that you want to say?
Well, I'll say two things. If you're someone who is living with depression or a mental health challenge or feels low, like you're in this funk you can't get out of, just find somebody you can be honest with, right? Somebody who, when they say, "How are you doing?" you'd be like, not so great today. You just, someone who you think can really hear you. And it might take a couple someones to hear you, to say, I'm not all right today, or I could use a little more support. And to those who are not in that place right now, break the silence. Like, talk about it. Talk about it even if you don't think you're not talking to anyone in particular. Talk about it in your faith communities. Talk about it in your friend groups. Because silence creates shame. And so when we break the silence, we break the shame, as if this is something to be ashamed of, to be scared of, that something's wrong with us. It's a secret. It's not. It's not. So I would say talk about it. Keep talking about it. Keep breaking the silence, doing these in places where people aren't talking about it. If you're a clinician, you might have a part of your world where everyone talks about it. And then you may be in a faith community where no one talks about it. And you have gifts that you can bring, that you can share, right? Maybe it's something you haven't thought about because it doesn't touch your life directly. Talk about it anyway, right? And if you're someone who's on the other side and you see this in someone else, say, "Hey, I'll help you. I'll walk with you. Have you thought about such and such?" Right? Just break the silence.
Thank you so much for this tonight. When we break the silence, we break the shame.
Mhm.
Powerful. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your energy. I want to encourage everyone again to make a purchase of the book and also, purchase it as a gift to someone, but it's particularly during this month. But we also
Mhm.
want you to put hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers in. We want to thank you, Dr. Monica Coleman, for your time tonight. Don't leave us. We're going to give away this book. We're going to go to 2 advertisements that we have to do. The first thing is that we want you to support our broadcast. We appreciate all of the donations that we receive when we receive them. We are grateful. And so we want you to continue to support our broadcast of Beyond the Gatekeepers, where we talk about current events and authors through a theological and justice informed lens. We talk about books and music and all kinds of things. And so we want you to go to PayPal, and if you have your PayPal, you can go to www.paypal.me/tfamjustice so that we can continue the work. That's www.paypal.me/tfamjustice. And we also want to tell you that we are headed to Atlanta, June the 30th through July 6th. Our theme is We Still Believe, We Still Dance, We Still Protest, We Still Love. At TFM Holy Convocation. We want you to go to www.tfmconference.org. That's www.tfmconference.org to secure your spot. We want to make sure that you can do that. We also want you to know that we're going to be at the Hilton Atlanta on 255 Cortlandt Street, Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia, 30303. Bishop Flunda is our presiding prelate. She's inviting you to come. Right now, we are in general registration. Early bird registration is over. It is $250. On site is $275. We've got some great workshops coming. Dr. Jamie Eady is going to be with us. Reverend Dr. Danielle Behuro is going to be with us. Reverend Dr. Teresa Smallwood is going to be with us. Professor Natasha Robinson is going to be with us. Reverend Dr. Brandon Crawley is going to be with us. We've got so many people. Reverend Christian Smith is going to be with us. We've got people. We still are gathering more people that are going to be with us. We are excited. Reverend Dr. Pamela Lucy is going to be with us at this conference. but we want you to join us at the conference too. And so we want to say that. Now, we want to make sure that you can see before we do this giveaway. Please, people want to know how to stay connected to Dr. Monica Coleman. We want to give you that. So please go to her website. The website is monicacoleman.com. That's monicacoleman.com. Please go to her website. Or you can put bipolarfaith.com in the comments. It's easy to remember, bipolarfaith.com. That's how you can keep up. That's how you can follow. I believe she's on IG too, and on social media and all those places. And so you can get connected to her work, to the things. I see Pastor Sue already putting it in the comment section, already putting it in the chat section. And so make sure that you stay connected to all of the wonderful work that Dr. Coleman is doing. All right, we want to give away a book tonight, and we are grateful. Thank you all for being on. I see you, YouTube, IG, Facebook, everybody that's come on. Reverend Erica Gerald's is here with us tonight. I like to shout the people out. Minister Sandy Hudson is here. I already shouted out Dr. Jamie Edie. Belle Marie, thank you for being on. Tara Wilkins, Reverend Tracy Ruffin, Anetra Jones, thank you. Michelle Wright, Reverend Michelle, Pastor Michelle Wright, thank you for being on tonight. And I want to make sure I didn't. Tara Wilkins, I think I saw that name. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for joining in on tonight and being with us. We appreciate you. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Hollow Rain, thank you for being on with us tonight. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Bishop Bonnie, I saw you. Thank you for being on with us tonight. Q Thomas, thank you for being on with us tonight. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Please put it in, put it in, put it in. I don't want people to say I didn't get a chance to get mine in. Put it in so you can win. Pastor Sue, thank you for your technical work tonight.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, right? Oh, Cheryl Robinson Moore, one, YouTube, O'Fallon, Missouri. Thank you, Cheryl Robinson Moore. You are the winner tonight. We appreciate you so very, very much. And what will happen is I will ask you to go to our inbox at Beyond the Gatekeepers. Give me your full name and address. I will get that to Dr. Monica Coleman, and that book will be mailed out to you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Monica Coleman. You have been a blessing. You are a blessing. We appreciate your presence.
Thank you for having me. It is my deep joy.
Awesome. Thank you all for watching Beyond the Gatekeepers. God bless you. By the grace of God, we'll see you next week.